everyone, it's Jennifer from Flux. In this video, I'm going to show you how to crochet these gorgeous flower medallion earrings. These are really simple and easy to make. They're done in just a few rounds each, and then some really simple assembly that we'll be doing at the end. These are fun to wear. You can make them match just about anything. The thread I'm using comes in lots of colors. We're going to talk about that in just a minute. Now, the finished earring measures about 2 inches wide and 2 inches tall. So these are really fun kind of statement earrings. And I'm going to show you how to make them every step of the way. So let's get started. For this project, you'll need a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle, one that's on the smaller side because we are going to be using this with some crochet thread. You won't want a big, huge yarn needle for this. And we're also going to be using some ear wires or French hooks, as they're commonly called, or earring hooks. You may see them, but just that like kind of classic hook style. You'll need one per earring, so 2 of those. You'll also need 2 jump rings. That's what we're going to be using to attach our medallion to these hooks. And then, so to use them, if you're not familiar with a jump ring, it's just like a little metal ring and it has a cut in it so you can like bend it open and then bend it back closed for jewelry making. So I like to use pliers for this. These are smaller jewelry size pliers. You can use some household needle nose pliers if you like. Some people need to only use 1 pair of pliers and their hand to bend it open. I find that it's easiest to use 2 and open it and close it that way, but it's totally your personal preference. And again, some people can just open them with their hands, which I find pretty amazing, but I need 2 of them to open and close mine. So some jewelry pliers or regular pliers. For our hook, we're going to be using a 3.75 millimeter F crochet hook for this. And for our thread, I'm going to be using some number 3 size crochet thread. Now, different companies make the number 3 size. I will be using Red Heart Fashion crochet thread. This is a 100% mercerized cotton, so it has like a silky kind of mini rope feeling to it. It's very pretty. It has a nice sheen. And this is just called purple, the purple colorway. And you can get, as you can see, lots and lots of earrings from one spool of this. Now you may notice that they recommend a 3.5 millimeter E crochet hook for this. We're going to go up a hook size for our medallion just to kind of open it up a little bit. But just look for the number 3 size and you'll be just fine with this F hook. As an option, I like to, when I'm making crochet earrings and you'll be wearing them and they'll be moving around, I like to use some fabric stiffener. I'm going to show you how to do this. It's totally optional, and if you want to skip this step, that's fine. But we're going to use a small brush towards the end of the video and kind of paint the back with this fabric stiffener. Now this is in a huge bottle. You can get this in any craft store, in the sewing area, or sometimes it's sold with the yarn. And what it is basically is some like watery glue. So we're just going to use like a little squirt of it, and not this, obviously not this much, but this is enough to last you like a lifetime or 2. But we're just going to sort of paint the back of this to give our earrings some sturdiness. So when you're wearing them, they don't curl or kind of fold in or anything like that. They'll stay nice and sturdy while you're wearing them. So again, this is optional, but it does help when you wear your earrings, especially if they're a favorite pair and you wear them a lot. It'll keep them like nice and sturdy for a while. So let's get started. So I went ahead and made the first flower medallion, and we're going to make the second one together. So grab your hook and your thread, and what we're going to do is create a ring to begin that we're going to work all of our stitches into. So what we want to do first is put a slip knot on our hook. Wrap the yarn around your fingers to make a loop, bring the yarn behind the loop, reach in with your hook, bring up that loop and tighten. The next thing we're going to do is chain 4. So to make a chain, wrap the yarn around the hook, bring it through the loop. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So we're going to do 4 chains, and then we're going to join in the chain farthest from our hook, and that will create our ring that we'll be working all of our stitches into. So go down to that first chain that you created, insert the hook, bring up a loop. Now bring that loop through the loop that's already on your hook. And then what you're going to do is just kind of open that ring up because we're going to work our stitches into it. Also, this tail, we want to hold this along the edges we work, and that will weave that in as we go along as well. So let's begin round 1. For round 1, what we're going to do is chain 4, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now this is going to count as a double crochet chain 1, okay? Now into the center of the ring, we're going to work a double crochet chain 1 11 times. So to make a double crochet, wrap the yarn around the hook, insert it into the center of the ring, and bring up a loop. You'll have 3 loops on the hook. Wrap the yarn around the hook again, bring it through the first 2 loops, you'll have 2 loops on the hook. Wrap the yarn around the hook one more time, bring it through both loops, and 1 loop is on the hook, and that's the double crochet. Then we're going to chain 1. Now, like I said, we're going to do this 11 times. So that was 1, and we're going to go 2, double crochet, chain 1, 3, double crochet, chain 1, 4, double crochet, chain 1, and again, we're holding the tail along the edge as we work still. We're going to do this the whole time for this whole round. Okay, so we have 4 so far, and then 5. Okay, that was 5, double crochet, chain 1, 6, double crochet, chain 1, 7, 8, 9, whoops, dropped my loop. Then we're going to work 10, and 11. Okay? So what I would recommend at this point is to just go ahead and count what you've done. So we had our starting chain here at the beginning, and then we did 11 double crochet chain 1s. Okay? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11. Okay? So now what we want to do is in that third chain up, remember we did a chain 4 at the beginning, but just in that third chain up, 1, 2, 3, we're going to join to close the round. Insert the hook in that third chain up, bring up a loop, now bring that loop through the loop that's already on your hook. And round 1 is complete. Now what I like to do is give that center, that little tail that we held, just give it a little tug to kind of straighten things out. Okay, let's move on to round 2. Round 2 is our last round. It's going to give us some petals on our flower. So what we want to do is chain 3 to begin round 2. So 1, 2, 3. Now, in that first space here, right at the bottom of that chain that you just made, we're going to work 3 double crochets. So 1 double crochet, 2 double crochet, 3 double crochet. So each one of our petals is actually going to be 4 double crochets, but because we did that chain 3 counted as one of the double crochets for this particular petal. Okay? Next, we're going to go to the next space here. So that space in between these next 2 posts from the previous round, excuse me, and we're going to work a slip stitch. So that will give us the rounded petal look that we need. So insert the hook into the next space, bring up a loop, now bring that loop through the loop already on the hook. Okay? Our first petal is done. Go into the next space and we're going to work 4 double crochets into that space. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay? And then in the next space, once again, we'll work a slip stitch. Whoops. There we go. Work your slip stitch. And so now we have 2 petals. Now let's work on a next petal. Go into the next space, work 4 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Work a slip stitch into the next space and 4 double crochets into the space after that. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay. Now work a slip stitch into the next space and 4 double crochets into the space after that. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Slip stitch into the next space. We are coming right around our flower here. We have several petals already. All right, now we're going to go into the next space. Let me just scoot my tail out of the way here. Go into the next space and work 4 double crochet. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Go into the next space, work a slip stitch, and now we're back where we started. So by this point, you should have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 petals on your little flower medallion. And then what we're going to do is, remember that starting chain, that chain 3 at the beginning of the round? We're going to go into the base of that first little chain that we made. Maybe a little snug, so just kind of take your time. Insert the hook, and we're going to work a slip stitch into that to close the round. So insert the hook, bring up a loop. Now bring that loop through the loop already on your hook. And our little flower is done. So what we want to do now is cut the thread. I'm just going to zoom out just a little bit because we're going to do a little bit of finish and assembly work next. Now wrap the yarn around the hook and bring it through the loop. And then what we're going to do is go ahead and take care of the finish work now. So we want to give that middle tail a nice tug and trim. And then grab your tapestry needle. And you just want to thread it. This is the outer tail that we did. And then you're just gonna, the knot's kind of sticking up, so you just want to kind of go towards, with your needle, go towards the center of the flower just to get that tail sort of out of the way, okay? So go in one direction with it. And then just kind of like pull it down so that that knot is sort of pulled down, okay? We're going to straighten our flower out in just a minute, but we want to give that tail a tug. And then we can grab our flowers, and you just want to kind of shape up your petals a little bit. Nothing major. If they look a little crunched up, you can sort of pull them apart. But our little flower medallion is done. And then we made our second one. So if you haven't made your second one, go ahead and make your second one now. And then we're going to do our fabric stiffener next. We're going to stiffen the backs of our flowers so that they'll be nice and stiff when we wear them. Okay, so like I mentioned before, this is a total optional step, but things that you wear, sometimes they can fold in or curl a little bit. So we just like to paint a little fabric stiffener on the back just to give it a little bit of sturdiness. So I just have some Post-it notes here. When I do this, if it's something teeny tiny like this, I just use a Post-it note. It's sufficient. It won't really soak through, but I do like to protect my surface. So what we want to do is get, we're going to do one at a time. And we're going to, the side that faced you while you work, that's the front side. Some people call it the public side or the right side. We want to flip it over to the back. And then just make sure everything's nice and straight before you start, because it's going to kind of like lock it in place. And then you want to give your bottle a nice shake. And this is sort of like a thin glue, almost like a runny, watery glue. And you don't need a lot, just a little blob. That might even be too big of a blob, but it's okay. And then we're just going to get our brush nice and coated in the fabric stiffener. And then what I like to do is just do light layers, because we don't want to go too heavy because it'll soak through. It'll be too crunchy, and you just want to do nice light layers. So if you need to like knock a little bit of the material off, that's okay. But we're going to kind of work from the middle. We're going to paint outward, okay? And we're going to do a couple of thin layers, but you can see I'm not really blobbing it on there. I'm just doing some nice light layers. It's okay if I don't get every square inch of it. We're just trying to get a little bit to soak into the back of this material so that when we wear them, they'll stay put, okay? It doesn't need to be like hard and crunchy. We just want to get a nice light layer, and you can start to see that it may just start soaking in as you're working. And you definitely don't want any of this to show on the front. You want this to stay on the back of your earring. And you can see a little bit of it is soaking in already. It's starting to lose, and it will dry clear. It will not look like this when it dries. So just know that too when you're painting it on, if it looks a little, and sometimes when we spend a lot of time with our beautiful stitches, it's a little bit scary to paint on the back of it, when you have your handiwork here. But you just want to like do nice light layers. It will dry. It's already starting to dry and look a little bit clear. we want to let this dry overnight. You'll repeat this for the second flower. So we're going to go ahead and do the second flower and then just let this dry overnight. And then when we come back, what we'll do is we'll start putting the hook on it so it can become an earring. Now, I prefer to do the fabric stiffener first so that we are not painting onto the metal and things like that. I like to stiffen the fabric first and then put the metal materials on there. So go ahead and let this dry overnight, and when we rejoin, we'll put the hook onto it next. Okay, our little flower medallions have dried completely, and so the back of them has some nice stiffness to it. So let's assemble our earrings now. So we can flip these over to the front side now, because remember we stiffened the back. And I have our little hooks and our jump rings. So let's put one of these together. I'm going to grab a jump ring. Now, like I mentioned earlier in the video, I like to use 2 pliers to open my jump rings and close them. You can use your hands if you want to. Some people are able to do that. You could use 1 pair of pliers. I like to do 2 pliers. It's really a personal preference in what you're able to do. I find it's just easier to use 2. So what we're going to do first is open up our jump ring. Just give it kind of a twist to sort of open it up. And let me just zoom in a little bit so you can see that jump ring a little bit better. It's very tiny. And then we're going to grab one of our motifs, and we're going to try and hook our jump ring to the center of one of these petals, okay? So you might need to look at your stitches and see what the center is. Now remember, we had 2 double crochets on one side of our petal and 2 double crochets on the other side of our petal. So you might want to just kind of go in between those 2 just to set. You want it to be nice and centered, okay? So we're going to just go nice and slow. We don't want to force it in there. Just kind of let it, like, guide it in there a little bit. And if you need to, like I need to, maybe open your jump ring a little bit wider just so you can help guide it in there. And so what you want to do is just go nice and easy with that. Just kind of work it in there. And then what we're going to do is take our hook, and we'll just hook our hook right onto the jump ring as well. Now, grab your other pair or your hand or whatever you're using and just carefully close it up, okay? And our earring is complete. So let's set this one aside, and we're going to, we can move this paper, and we're going to grab our other motif, grab your other jump ring, and we're just going to, you kind of need to kind of look and see where that opening is, and then give it a twist to open it up. Grab any of the petals, it's up to you, whatever petal you prefer, and just kind of go right in the middle of that petal. I just went right in the space there. And I'm going to hook my earring on. And then we can get our pliers and just close this jump ring up, okay? Just kind of work it closed the best you can. I still have a little bit of an opening, so I'm going to bend it just a little bit more. And now our beautiful earrings are complete. Now if you notice, when I hooked my ear wires on there, I hooked one so that it went this way, and I hooked the other one so it went this way. So when you wear them, because you're wearing them on opposite sides of your head, they will lay nicer, okay? So that is how you crochet the flower medallion earrings. I hope you enjoyed this project. This was so fun and easy to do. Thanks so much for watching, and be sure and click the subscribe button to get all the latest Fiber Flux video updates. Thanks again.